This particular video is going to show us how we can create a nested CRUD app from start to finish. I'm not operating off of a script, so in case I mess up, forgive me. We'll take a break after the nested CRUD portion is finished. Then we'll jump into how to add in devise, and then how we can send emails out as well. Now, I've created something that we all like, breweries and beer. These are two things that everyone in this room enjoys. We have two resources, because one, like two nouns, one's a brewery and one's a beer. I want to be able to CRUD both of those things. So I'm going to create two tables. You're going to tell me how those two tables are related. Breweries, each brewery has certain attributes. First things first, what does every brewery have?
Name.
Please, I'm not doing this again.
Front door.
All right, a brewery has a name, they have an address, phone number. Okay. Every single beer has a name as well. Every single has a type of beer. Okay, and alcohol percentage. All right. Let's just say that each one of these has these three columns for now. Now I just need to join them up together. How do I do that?
You could just have the beers have a brewery.
Yeah, that's
by
pretty
ID
Yeah.
of the brewery. You
So-
don't need a joint table because one beer doesn't belong to multiple breweries.
That's correct. Yeah. One brewery brews one beer. A brewery brews many beers, and every single beer belongs to one brewery. So where does the ID go? Does it go here or does it go here?
It will go underneath the beers.
Okay, so I'm going to add one called Brewery ID and connect them using this thing right here. How do people feel? This is our schema, fairly simple. Now we're going to write the code to make this happen. So I'm going to run something kind of new. I'm going to bundle install first. I'm going to put in a few gems just to get us started. We definitely need a faker in here. Probably need pry at one point when something blows up. And I'm going to get a gem. Actually, I won't do that one yet. Bundle install one more time. And I'm going to do one command to create both the model and the migration all at once. So bundle exec, Rails G model instead of migration. And I believe we had brewery. Now, what you'll notice is when you write bundle exec Rails G model brewery, it creates a singular model called brewery, and then it pluralizes it here inside of the migration. Migration is plural because there's going to be more than one inside of your database. The model is singular because you're talking about one singular one of them. So same thing with beer. Cool. All right. Which folder has my migrations inside of it? DB, migrate, and I have these two things up here. All right, every single brewery we said had a name, address, and phone number. Type alcohol percentage. Okay, every single beer has a name. Beer type, and t.string for alcohol percentage. Do you want to make this a string? Do you want to make this an integer? Do you want to make it a float?
Probably float.
Float. Float makes sense because it's a decimal, and it's going to be a decimal every single time. You don't have alcohol percentage of A, right? So now I'm not finished here. I have one thing has to belong to another, and one has many of the other. So when we're talking about just the migrations, we need to have t that belongs to brewery. This will add an extra row that basically says like brewery ID. It'll live inside of the beer. All right. So we created this over here. I'm going to also add the associations inside the models. So I got a beer and I also got a brewery. Split them top and bottom. A brewery has many beers, and a beer belongs to a brewery. Next, seeds. Let's create 3 breweries and 5 beers per brewery. All right, so 3 times do. Create a brewery. And then 15 times do. Create beer. All right, I know that I need to require faker at the top of my file. And let's see if there is a faker gem for beer. Maybe there is. Beer? There is, no kidding. You guys. That's great. Wow, that's incredible. 6.3%. I think we have to change it back to string because it's coming in as a string. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go back over here to, and let's change this back to string. All right, let's create the brewery first. Fairly simple. Brewery.create. It takes in, I believe, a name, address, and phone number. Okay, not particularly sexy, I understand, but we still have to look it up. Address, phone number. All right, looks like I'm just going to grab this as the phone number. The address I'm going to grab as well. I need a street address, city, state, and zip code. I think I can do that all in one shot. So, street address, city, we'll have Illinois as the state by default, and zip code. And then the name, what should we use? Should we use for the name here? Some random fake data for the name. Cannabis. This actually works fairly well. All right. Baker, so the brewery name will have a cannabis name strain as their name. We have their address here, and we also have random phone number. Now we're going to create some beers. So beer.create, and a beer has a name.
We need to do interpolation for the phone number and name.
Nope. This is I'm interpolating here because I'm doing multiple things, like street address, city, Illinois, and the zip code. This one's just going to put it in form. All right, so if I recall correctly, a beer name, type, alcohol percentage. Name, type, alcohol percentage. And then it also belongs to a brewery. So this one is going to be interesting. Brewery ID, I'm just going to choose a random number between 1 and 3. Because I created 3 breweries, it's going to belong to one of these 3.
Is rand inclusive of 1 and 3?
Let's find out. That's a great question. Rand 1, 3. Yes.
Okay, so I know one of them had like the first number was not inclusive. I'm not sure.
I think it's triple. I think the first one is always there, but the very end may or may not be included. But I think double dot is inclusive. All right. So we'll jump back over here, and we'll jump over to beer.md. All right, I'm going to grab the name, the style, and the alcohol. Name, style, alcohol. Name, style, and alcohol. If all goes well, I can drop the database, create, migrate, and seed. Uninitialized faker cannabis. Looks like cannabis is not a real thing yet. Too bad. Avatar. Nope. Breaking Bad. All right, so it blew up on the first one, so I'm just going to seed it one more time. Hopefully this runs through. Oh, you can't call it type. We'll call this, what do you want to call it?
Beer type.
Beer type. And same thing over here. Beer type. And I'm just going to drop and create and migrate and seed. Okay, all goes well. Jump into the console. Bundle looks like Rails C. We'll take a look at the last brewery. All right, ABQ at this particular place with a random phone number. Let's say A equals underscore. A.beers. All right, so this beer, they have a bunch of beers. How many do they have? They have 8 beers. Let's just choose the last one. All right, it's a Shakespeare Oatmeal Strong Ale, 9.4%. This sounds pretty good, yeah. And if all goes well, I can also go the other way. Beer.brewery. So we can go in both ways. We can get from the beer to the brewery to all the beers, and the beer back up to the brewery. So we've set everything up correctly, and now we're going to start actually building this CRUD out. I need routes. First thing first, I need routes. I'm going to jump inside of my routes file right over here and just do resources for brewery. All right, I'm going to run bundle exec Rails routes over here. All right, I can take a look at all the breweries. I can see a new brewery edit and the regular one. If I fire everything off, and I want to make a GET request to /breweries, is it brewery or breweries? Oh no, it's IES. Oops. My mistake. Oops. Yep, breweries, my mistake. Yep. I go to localhost 3000 /breweries. It's going to blow up. It says there's an uninitialized constant called breweries controller. Makes sense. I don't have this controller quite yet. So I'm going to jump under app controllers, create a new controller called breweries controller.rb, and then have a class breweries controller, which is going to inherit from application controller. All right. And we kind of know off the bat that we need all of these things inside of there, right? So let's not do a whole bunch of error-driven development. Let's just put those things inside of here for now. So we know that we need a def create, def new, def edit, def show, def update, def destroy. This is the basis for pretty much every CRUD app. I want to see all of them. I also probably need an index in here. I want to see all of them. I want to see an individual one. I want to be able to see the form for a new one, create it, update, and edit and destroy. So let me just put this in here because I'm sure I'm going to give this to you. So CRUD, see, create, read, update, destroy. All right, so I know this one is for read. This one is for create. But you also need to see the form to see it, to create a new one. Edit is going to be for update. Show. Show is for read. All right. At this particular point, take a look at the views. There's no views for the breweries, so I'm going to create a new folder called breweries. And a few of these are going to need some views just off the bat. We know that we need an index.html.erb, and we'll just start from there. Refresh this page, go to /breweries, and it'll probably be empty. Yep, index.html.erb. So it's empty for right now. So index is for all of the things, all of the breweries. So I need to find all the breweries inside my database. What do I need to type here?
So the @ symbol, breweries is equal to the brewery dot all.
Yep. So I'm going to grab all of them. And so by default, whenever anybody hit the index action, it's going to match up with the index view. And everything with an @ symbol at the front can automatically be passed from the controller down into the view. Create one real quick, all breweries. And I'm going to iterate over each one of them. I need to create a table. I don't know how to do this. Let's just grab all of this and just shove it in here. I'm going to move all breweries down. I don't think I need any of this. All right, if all goes well, we'll see this over here. Close, close, close. All right, all breweries. Makes sense, looks pretty decent for right now. Let's get rid of company. It'd be brewery name, address, and phone number. Is that all there was? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right. And now I'm going to iterate underneath over all of the breweries. Okay. And I'm going to grab this, move it up, move it in. And all I'm going to do is just interpolate brewery.name, brewery.address, and brewery.phone number. If all goes well, refresh the page. Got all my breweries, the individual brewery name, address, and the phone number. All I did here, found all the breweries, created a table, and iterated over each one of those records, got their name, address, and phone number so that it shows up looking nice on the page. So I'm able to see all of them, which is fine, but I also want to be able to link to an individual one so I can take a little bit closer look. So I'm just going to change this to be linked to. Remember, the first thing is what shows up on the page. The next one is the path that it's going to. Refresh the page. You can kind of see in the bottom left-hand corner, brewery /1, 2, and 3. When I click on an individual one, this blows up. I'm missing a template.
Hi, Sam.
When I'm talking about an individual brewery, I need to find that one inside the database. So at brewery, it's going to be brewery.find params ID. And then inside the show, show.html.erb, I'll have an H1 for at brewery.name. Details. And I'll just have name, address, and phone number. I'll make these all H2s. And all I'm going to do is just interpolate at brewery.name, at brewery.address, at brewery.phone number. Refresh the page here. IFT details, name, address, and phone number. Nothing terribly fancy. I'll have a back button. Back, and that's going to take me to the breweries path, which is all of the breweries. I could also just have an href going to /breweries. These two are the exact same thing. I'm going to choose to do this one just to demonstrate some of the shortcuts that they give you. So back, and I know I'll have one for edit, and then that'll be going somewhere, and the same thing for delete. Now, as I'm getting to the edit and the delete portion right over here, I need to jump over here and get those routes. So when I want to edit, it's going to be this particular path. So link to edit, it's going to be to edit brewery path, specifically this particular brewery. And then the delete, same thing, I'm going to take it to the brewery path, but instead of doing the get, which is the default, I'm going to jump over to this delete. Over the get, which is the default, I'm going to jump down to this delete over here. So brewery path with, I'm going to actually just take these here. Brewery method. Delete. So I'm here, refresh, back, edit, and delete. So if I want to hit the edit button, same thing, blows up. This is missing a template. Simple enough. I'm going to jump down to this edit over here. I still need to find the same brewery. Then it's going to load up the edit, the edit button. So I'm going to do edit html.erb, load this up. I'm also going to need a new.html.erb, and we're going to create a quick form over here. I'm going to look for a form in the old curriculum. 1 second. Is this making sense so far? Yes. Hope so. And create a new brewery. Breweries, post, name, address, and phone number. Same thing over here. Okay, if all goes well, I can refresh this page and have the brewery here. I should probably also have a back button somewhere, right? Just in case. Underneath the form, I'll have a link to back, and then it'll take me to @brewery. Back. All right, so let's go back. I'm able to see everything. I'm able to see an individual one, so both the reads are done. I can edit an existing one, IFT123, or can I? Oh, this blows up. I have to skip the authenticity token. Let's just Google this. First thing that shows up, skip before filter. I think it's skip before action at this particular point. Let's try it one last time. Breweries, edit, 3, 2, 1, update, and nothing happens. Nothing happens because we actually don't have we don't have the action to take care of it quite yet. Here's that update right over here. Let's actually just redirect them.
The list gets bigger. I don't want to change.
If all goes well, and I just click this button, refresh, 3, 2, 1, it'll take me to Google. All right, so we know that it's actually hitting the right thing. At this particular point, we need to find everything inside the database, and we need to whitelist our parameters. So private def brewery params. And the idea here is I'm only going to allow things that are coming in from post requests that I whitelist. So I'm just going to do params.permit, specifically the name, the address, and the phone number. So I'm going to find it inside the database. I'm going to do @brewery.update attributes with this brewery params. I'm going to redirect them at this point. @brewery. Hopefully this will work. We'll find out. Refresh. IFT123 update. It takes me back to brewery number 1, but now my name has been updated from IFT to IFT123, and change it back. Keep this number 1 in mind. Refresh. I'm still on number 1, but now you can kind of see that particular thing has been updated. So I'm able to read all of them. I'm able to edit. Can I delete? Let's find out. Nothing happens. I don't have that code yet. I'm going to find that brewery inside the database. I'm going to do @brewery.destroy, and then maybe I'll just redirect to brewery's path. Delete, and you can kind of see that first. Oh, IFT is still here. Was that in the second one? Let's do this. Delete, and it's just IFT. So if I go to /3, that was the one I just deleted. Could not find ID 3 because it's been deleted from the database. I'm not going to do too much with deleting because I only have a finite number of breweries, so that's not a really good thing. And then finally, I'm going to create a new one. So under all breweries, I'll have a link to the new brewery. I believe that is the index page, and I'm going to put this at the very top of the index page. I'm going to have a link to create a new brewery. This is going to take me to the new brewery path. And let's refresh, create a new brewery. Brewery name, I'll call this Goose Island. It's a great brewery. Chicago. I don't know, 312-555-6677. Create the brewery, nothing happens because I don't have that post request taken care of yet. So new doesn't need anything. Create, I will do not create, at brewery equals brewery.create with brewery params. Then redirect to at brewery. Let's try remaking this one more time. So I'm going to do Goose Island, Chicago, Goose Island, number 4, because remember there were 3 that we created at the beginning. I'm able to create, read, update, and destroy everything right here. Just for the sake of cleanliness, I'm going to drop and recreate the database so that those beers are not orphaned records.
They have to do this often in the real world because of all the deleting of records and things.
So so the question was, do you like drop and create databases in the real world? In development on your own machine, sure. Never do it to a production database because imagine losing all of the records if you're Amazon size or something like that. Obviously, they have backups of their backups of their backups, but overall, you generally do not want to do that.
What happens to those orphan numbers?
They still exist in the database, but they don't have a they don't have a brewery to belong to. All right, so I'm able to see all of them. So read. I'm able to edit. I'm also able to delete. All right, now I've gotten to the point where I also want to show all the beers associated with this particular thing. So I'm going to create an H2 on every single show page. Maybe I'll have an H6 at the very H5, where it's I'll create a link. All beers for I need to all beers for and then since I'm looking for each individual beer under the breweries, I need to create some new routes. Underneath the routes here, I've got breweries, and underneath that, I'm going to nest in resources beers. When I run this one more time, you'll see I get a whole new slew of stuff that comes out. So not only do I have the original, which is down over here, I've got all of these up here, these new ones. So the brewery beers, it looks like this is the path that I need. Brewery number 1 and all of their beers. These work. I don't think we need this anymore. Let's take a look. Let's see if this works. Refresh the page. Did I mess something up? No, I'm missing a. There we go. Let's see if this works. I'm missing a required key, brewery ID. Okay, let's take a look. So it says that I'm missing a required key called brewery ID. If you take a look over here, it looks like I need a brewery ID in order to move forward. Like before, it was able to guess because there's only one ID, but ID becomes ambiguous when you're dealing with 2 different resources. When you're dealing with one like /breweries and you're only looking for one particular brewery, there's no question like when you pass in a number, it refers to this ID. once I get down here, there's a brewery, two ID numbers. One is going to be the brewery ID, and the other one's just going to be the ID number of the beer. And because they cannot assume that anymore, I'm just going to pass in brewery ID with that particular ID. I'm going to do brewery. I think I could just do add brewery. Pass in the entire object. All right. All beers for craft. Let's just do an H3. And I think I might need double quotes. Will this interpolate? No, it's right here. You're correct. All beers for Hermanos. Go here, no beers controller, and we're going to repeat everything. Now, I'm not going to do all of that. I'm just going to literally just start copying and pasting and changing things where I need to. Beers controller .rb. Copy and paste. Before that, there are a few lines on here that I've repeated over and over. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 lines of code that I've repeated that are exactly the same. Once you see repetitive code like this, you want to not have repetitive code. So since all of these need to find this brewery before doing anything, I'm going to create what's called a before action, which called find brewery, only for these particular methods. I believe it is show, edit, update, and destroy. Again, before these particular methods fire off, I'm going to find the brewery. I need to do it anyway because I'm finding it on the first line of all of these anyway. I'm going to just cut this line out, delete, 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 and I'm going to add another private method called find brewery. Paste that in there. Let's make sure that everything still works. Still see, edit, and I don't want to delete. Okay, everything looks good to me. All beers, this blows up. There, the beers controller. All right, so at this point, I need to do a few things before anything comes of this. First things first, in order to find a beer, in order to visit any sort of beer, we have to actually find the brewery first because that's part of the URL up here. So I'm going to add one before action, before anything happens, called find brewery. And it's not going to be just for specific things because I'm a different controller. I'm in the beers controller. I'm just going to have find brewery for everybody. And it's no longer ID, but it is brewery ID. As you can see, before it was just ID over here. Now it's going to be brewery ID. So I need to find that one first, and I want to take a look at all of the beers. So instead of, I'm just going to delete all of this for now. Before I do anything, if I just want to read all of the specific beers that I have, I'm going to do @beers equals @brewery.beers. That's it. That's all I'm changing. I'm saying instead of finding all the breweries, because I already have the brewery, a brewery has many beers. That's why we did it at the very beginning. So @beers equals @breweries.beers. From there, I need to create another views folder called beers. And a beer has all of these same things. So new for edit.html.erb. I have one for index.html.erb. One for show and one for new.
Just a quick question.
Yes.
Instead of doing the breweries dot beers, could you just have done beer dot all?
No.
No.
The question was, can I just do @beers equals beer.all? You can, but it's literally every beer inside the database rather than the beers that are associated with that particular brewery. Good question, though. All right, same thing over here. I'm just going to copy. I'm going to copy everything from here and dump it inside of here. I'm going to change a few things. All beers for @brewery.name. Create a new beer. I'm going to change this a little bit later, but I just want to see something show up. So beer name, type, and alcohol percentage. And it's not breweries anymore. It's going to be beers. Change this to beer. Beer.name. Beer. Beer.beer type. And beer.alcohol. What did we call it inside the database? Does anyone remember? Alcohol percentage. All right, now I've updated everything.
Brewery.
Thank you. Now I've updated pretty much everything, but some of the paths are no longer correct. And this is the good part about using these named routes, is because if you change to one place, you can change it. You only need to change one thing rather than every place that you've hard coded it. So when I create a new beer, it no longer goes to new brewery path. But when you create a new brewery, new beer for a brewery, it's actually new brewery beer path. Next time I'm going to choose things with one syllable inside of them. And I want to see an individual beer. So I think it's brewery beer path. And then I need to pass in a few things. I think this requires a brewery ID and the ID of the beer itself. So I need the brewery ID, brewery.id, and ID is going to be beer.id. I hope this is right because I'm going to refresh, and there it is. So let's go back to just the brewery. I want to take a look at all the beers associated, and now I have found all the ones that are associated with inside the database, pumped it out like this, and if all goes well, I can highlight this one. Yep, breweries/1/beers/6. So I can see all of them. I can't see an individual run right now, but that's fairly simple. I will do this inside the controller. I just want to see the show. I'm going to find the beer. @beer equals beer.findparams ID. And inside the show, I'm just going to copy and paste over from breweries. Show. It's not going to be @brewery anymore. I'm going to change all of these to beer. Beer.name. It's going to have a name, a type of beer, and an alcohol percentage. I don't think I need this. Let's just refresh and see if this shows up correctly. Oh, okay. All right, so I want to go back to, okay. So I think everything works, and then it blows up down here because we just copied and pasted from the old code. So when I hit back when I'm on a beer, I'm going to go back to all the beers for a particular brewery. So I'm going to go back to brewery beers path with the brewery. And then if I want to edit a particular beer, looks like there's an edit brewery beer path. Probably need to pass in a couple things. We need to pass in the brewery ID. And then the beer and the regular ID of the beer. And then finally the delete. I want to go to brewery beer path, but I'm going to change the method to delete as well. Hopefully this works. All right, let's go back. We can go all back to brewery number 1's beers. I'm going to go back to Founder's Breakfast Stout. It's a vegetable beer. That's kind of gross. I want to edit this particular one. So I can see all of them. I can see an individual one. Now I'm going to work on the update and then the delete. Same thing here with the new and the edit. I'm just going to grab this old one. And same thing here. Every single time that it says brewery, I'm just going to change it to beer. Okay, so edit beer is going to make a put request to /brewery /brewery ID /beers @beer.id. It has a name, and I believe this is @beer.name. It has a beer type, and it has an alcohol. Alcohol percentage. All right, and if all goes well, I can go to update. This back button is not going to go back to the brewery, but it's going to go back to the brewery beer. I think I can actually, because it's always expecting two things, I think the shortcut for it is just passing the entire object for the brewery and the entire object for the beer, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go figure it out. Refresh, edit, please work. No. I don't have a find for the edit. Yeah, that's what it is. Beers controller, edit. Yeah, I need to find the beer first. Refresh this page. Beer type. It's not brewery.beer type, it is beer.beer type. Okay, no implicit conversion of brewery into integer. Looks like I need to pass in .id on both of these. Okay, there we go. So we can actually edit each individual beer. All goes well, I can just change this to 9, hit the update. The update doesn't do anything. We need to actually put all this stuff inside of here. A beer has certain parameters. I'm going to only permit certain things to come in. I'm going to allow the name, the beer type, and the alcohol percentage. Destroy, I'm going to need to find the beer first. And then @beer.destroy, and then redirect to brewery beers path with @brewery. Update, I'm going to find it inside the database. I'm going to update it. the same thing up here with the create. Hopefully this whole thing works. All right, let's try this whole thing. I don't care. Let's just go here for now. So from start to finish, we have a brewery, and we can create, read, update, and destroy every single brewery. So we'll go to Felina, because I think that's the last one of Breaking Bad. I'm going to click on all the beers, and here's all of the beers. This is really good. Here are all the beers. I can view an individual one. I can edit each individual one. Stout 1, 2, 3. So beer 1 under brewery 2. That's bad. So I can't update. Can I delete? Oof. Okay. There's a few things that are broken. So edit is definitely broken. Let's go to edit. And edit that HTML. /breweries /brewery ID /beers /beer ID, right? /brewery ID /beer /ID, okay. It's a put request that takes me to update. I'm going to find the beer, update the attributes, and then redirect them. Let's put a pry right here. All right, let's go back to beer /1. Update, stuck over here. All right, let's take a look at params. Params has an ID. All right. If I exit here, what happens? Redirect to brewery beer path. Is that not the right one? Let's put a pry down here. See what happens. Okay, edit. 9% update. Stuck in a pry session. Let's take a look at beer. It has changed to 9%. When I exit, it's going to redirect me to the brewery beer path, which does not seem to exist.
Do you need to do the .id on brewery on line 39?
On 39.
Or no, I'm sorry. The other line.
Let's put that pry right here. Let's try this one last time. I don't know why it's not redirecting me. Let's make it 11%. Update. Let's take a look at what brewery path, what this returns for us. R. That's probably bad. Brewery ID and ID. Flush. Yeah, so it took, I don't know why this took me to the wrong place. Maybe if I go up. Does this give me anything? Nope, it doesn't. All right, so it looks like I needed it to look like this. It's interesting. All right, so we have we're gonna bring it back down to 5. Bring stout. More likely like 9. Update brings me back over here. Can I delete each individual one? So remember for Felina, there's Yeti is the first one that shows up top. If I delete that one, there's no more Felina up here. So I'm able to create, read, update, and destroy all the beers underneath the brewery.